Hi, Tim Hicks with GuitarGoods.com, and today on our guitar lessons, this is one of the most important things we have to do is understand how notes work and how our strings work to gain a knowledge of how chords put together and notes and scales. But before we get into that, I want to just talk about a couple of very basic things. First of all, we have to identify and name our strings. Now, on the guitar, we're going to be talking about just a basic 6-string guitar. There are 12-string guitars. There are other guitars that have a different number of strings on them. We're going to focus on just the standard electric guitar. Again, this is for someone who's just picking up the guitar and they want to learn about this. The way I go about this, I try to keep this very simple because I'm pretty simple. I don't like a lot of complexities. So we're going to talk about the strings from the smallest string to the largest string. If you'll zoom in here, you can kind of catch this. The smallest string we're going to call string 1. String 2, string 3, string 4, string 5, and string 6. Now it's simple, but the rule I go by is the smallest string goes with number 1, the smallest number. The biggest string goes with the biggest number, which is 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now when we're playing music, we have to also assess a note name to each of these strings. So we sometimes identify the strings by the number. I may say put your first finger on the 5th fret on string 1. But I may also call it by its note name. So we're going to talk about that. The first string and the 6th string are both the note E. Now I always call the first string a high E, and the 6th string I call a low E. You'll find this on a piano rather easily because we only have 8 notes that we deal with. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And on a piano, if you start in the middle of a piano, you've probably heard someone refer to that as middle C. And if you play to the right, starting with that, you'll find C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. The first C is a lower sounding C than the last C that we play. So it is with our first and 6th string. Now, what are the other strings' names? We'll start from the 5th string, and the 5th string is an A, the 4th is a D, the 3rd is a G, and the 2nd is a B. Now, people remember these a lot of different ways. I have dogs, and I like to play tug of war with my dogs, and I always get them close up, and I growl when I'm playing with them, and they growl back. So I came up with a little acronym, all dogs growl back. So I have high E, low E, and then A, D, G, B, or all dogs growl back. You can come up with whatever you like. That's how it helps me remember. So now that we know the names of the strings, now we're going to talk about here on the fretboard, we're going to talk about the names of the notes on each string. And we're going to focus today just on the 6th string for right now, which is a low E. And here's what we have to remember about notes. We might want to, I'll just talk about this for just a second here before we move into the neck. We have to understand a couple of things. Think of music as being on a line, in this case a string. Okay? And we have notes every so many spaces. With music we have a half space interval and a whole space interval. These are called sometimes steps or tones. On a piano, for example, if I find middle C and I play the C, if I go to the next white key, which is a D, that's called a whole tone or a whole step. The black key that sits in between the white keys, if I went from C to the black key, that is a half step. It's halfway to the next whole tone, which is D. So I have C, then I have the black key, that's halfway to D, and then I go from the black key to D. So basically, 2 half steps are the same as a whole step. Now on the guitar this is a lot easier. Look back up here at the fretboard. If I'm playing a note right here, and I want to move a half step, all I have to do is move up 1 fret space. If I want to move a whole step, I just move up 2. 1, 2. Now, there are certain steps you take to go from each of the notes from one to another. For example, From A to B is a whole step or 2 fret spaces. From B to C is a half step or 1 fret space. C to D is a whole step. D to E is a whole step. From E to F is also just a half step or 1 fret space. And from F to G is a whole step. So let's talk about that as we look at the low E. We have low E. Now from E to F is a half step or 1 fret space. So I'm going to go here. This is now an F. From F to G is a whole step, so I'm going to move up 1, 2. From G to A is a whole step, so I'm going to move up 2 frets, 1, 2. From A to B is a whole step. Again, 2 frets. From B to C is a half step, so there's only 1 fret space, so I'm going to go from B to C. From D to E is a whole step, so I'm going to move up 2 frets. And then I'm going to move up from D to E, which is another 2 steps, or 2 fret spaces, a whole step. And I'm at the 12th fret. Now this is significant. If I play the open string, the low E, it's also an E. Whenever I go through my half steps and whole steps along that string, when I end up at the 12th fret, that is also an E. That's a check and balance. So again, let's take a look at this again. E, F, half step, whole step to G, whole step to A, whole step to B, half step to C, whole step to D, whole step to E. Now if you keep the half step, whole step rule in mind, we can do this on all of the strings. And this is going to give you an idea of what the names of those notes are. Simply gives you a map to figure those out. So, okay, very, very good. This is something you need to practice and get used to. And if you can commit some of this to memory, this would help, especially on the 6th string and the 5th string. This is going to come in handy that you memorize where those notes are, what those notes are. So, very good. Well, until next time, this is Tim Hicks from GuitarGoods.com. We appreciate it, and have a great day.